Did Bulls insider KC Johnson just reveal the details to DeMar DeRozan's contract extension? We have to break that down. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Bulls Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into the video because the Chicago Bulls season, as we all know, ended on Friday with a loss to the Miami Heat. And soon after, it came out that DeMar DeRozan wants to win and that there is a potential extension on the table for him to try to continue winning in Chicago, or continue to try to win in Chicago, maybe I should say. So let's just kind of talk about this because, look, as we know from KC Johnson from NBC Sports Chicago, DeRozan was offered around a 2-year contract that should be worth $40 million annually, so that would be a 2-year, $80 million deal, potential player or team option. And as Johnson mentioned, for now, DeRozan is seeking a longer-term deal, but that may be just part of the negotiations after all. DeMar DeRozan said around a week ago that he would like to continue his career with the Chicago Bulls and that he loves what he built, and the time that the Bulls spent as the 1 seed was enough for him to very much be interested in staying and trying to get back there for the fans. We know DeRozan's loyal. That's nothing new to anyone. But it is very nice to know that. But then recently, he kind of went back after the loss, and I mean, that's fair. It's kind of tough to lose in the play-in for the second straight year. After your first year with the team, you spend time as the 1st seed, and then things just derail completely, and it ends up in a 7-2 seed matchup that finishes with the Celtics winning in 5. So, or the Bucks winning in 5, not the Celtics. But look, I do think that right now the Bulls are in a weird spot, because if you let DeRozan walk, it's going to be tough to rebuild anyway. You might as well keep DeRozan around, try to see what happens with a healthy Lonzo Ball, imagining that Lonzo finally does come back next season, and you could take that and sort of just move things around and decide, like, where does Coby White play? Is he going to be a 2-guard next to Lonzo Ball? What are we doing with Alex Caruso? Is Zach Lavine getting traded? If so, who are the pieces that Zach Lavine is being traded for? How are they going to fit into the rotation? So there could be a lot of changes to the Bulls, even if DeRozan is still on the roster next year. I would imagine the Bulls want to try the idea of having Coby White as the 2-guard next to Lonzo Ball, but it does depend on the version of Lonzo Ball that comes back. I mean, he was playing the best basketball of his career in Chicago. He was an elite defender. The playmaking was off the charts. The Bulls were a 1 seed because they had an elite floor general, and they were never able to replace that in this Lavine-DeRozan era after. It also matters what's going to happen with Vuce, but he's under contract, so we're going to assume that he stays. But if you look at this Chicago Bulls team, it's kind of tough to imagine what's going to happen whether you sign DeRozan or not. If you don't sign DeMar DeRozan, that is at least picking a direction, and then you have to figure out what you're doing with Zach. It feels like he's going to get traded, but it's always felt like he's going to get traded. And then Vuce, who knows? I think the Bulls are going to have to eat this contract. But I'm definitely interested, and I think the Bulls should re-sign DeMar DeRozan. At this point, there's no use in not re-signing him. What if Lonzo Ball comes back and plays the same way? Do I think that's likely? Maybe not. Maybe not instantly. He could definitely get back to part of that player, part of the reason why they were a 1 seed. And if he can do that, then the Bulls will be a play-in team. They'll be a destination for stars to come to, and then they won't have to go through a rebuild. But also, you could re-sign DeRozan, and if there's no process being made or progress being made, if it's the trade deadline and the Bulls are around 500, looking at the 8th seed, knowing that this is going to be another play-in season, maybe you trade DeMar DeRozan, especially if that 2-year contract has an option on it, because then a team theoretically could be getting an expiring DeRozan contract, and probably a team that is contending for the championship and needs some sort of shot creation. So I think with that being said, at this point, re-signing DeRozan just seems like the right move, because there's no reason to let him go. If the plan was to just let DeMar DeRozan walk, then he would have been traded halfway through the season. So I do not think that he's just going to walk from the Bulls. I don't think he played his final game in a Chicago Bulls jersey, but he did say this: I hate losing. I hate missing opportunities. It really hits after the season, because he did say a week ago that he wants to resign, and he said, you look up, last seconds run off, and you don't have another game. Next time I play a game will be my 16th season. you realize that window closes for you personally. I'm not trying to play 25 years or nothing like that. And then he also mentions that his biggest goal is to compete for championships. That is not likely going to happen in Chicago, as the Bleacher Report article writer says. I'm not going to say that because you just never know what could happen, though it is likely, let's be real. The Bulls have just won one playoff game in DeRozan's 3 years with the franchise. They have no rising superstars, and according to K.C. Johnson, they are looking for a trade for Zach Lavine. So look, I think even if Zach gets traded, there's no reason to not re-sign DeMar DeRozan. Like, if you re-sign DeMar after Zach gets traded, his points are gonna go up. You're giving Kobe White that free reign to be the starting shooting guard, potentially becoming a starting point guard for the next, 10 years maybe of the roster. He's only been with the Bulls. He's already signed one extension. He'll probably sign another one at some point for more money because he's breaking out. He's obviously in most improved player conversations, though that award's going to go to Maxey. So I think when you look at it, it just makes sense to re-sign DeRozan. Have him be that veteran there, and maybe Lonzo helps get the team back on track to where they could be a 6 or a 5 seed. Then maybe a trade destination for some sort of player. Say maybe because there's a center out there who his teammate is in year 5,000 of his career, and he's basically in his 40s, and his team sucks outside of him, and that center happens to be from Chicago, if you get my drift. Now, I don't know where the assets come from, but the Bulls do have all their picks available to them for the most part. I know there's obviously that Spurs stuff, but they have assets to pull off a big trade, but they need to be good enough to where they could be some sort of destination where a player could be happy to be traded there, and not just if he's trying to come home again. If you guys understand. I'm talking about Anthony Davis. But I just really think that DeMar's in a tough situation, and he is going to look at other teams, but he knows the Bulls can give him the most money, and he said that he doesn't really care about the money that much at the end of the day. But, money talks, and also if there's an agreement, or at least an idea, that DeRozan could easily end up getting traded halfway through the season and also still be getting paid his money, I think that's a pretty good bet for him to take. And as it mentions, you already saw that, but if you look here, DeRozan, absolute star still, putting up 24 points per game this season with 4 rebounds and 5 assists. He's shooting 33% from 3 now on very low volume. One of the best mid-range artists of all time. 3-time All-Star. He's gotten there with Chicago. Or 3-time All-NBA, 6-time All-Star. He's just gotten both those with Chicago at some point, dude. He's an outstanding player. And it's not his fault the Bulls have been bad. Or at least just not good. But definitely, even if something needs to change, I don't think that something would be letting DeMar DeRozan walk in free agency directly without any sort of compensation. Like, a sign and trade's not going to get anything of value back anyway. So I just don't understand the point to that. Maybe I'm missing something. Let me know down below in the comments, guys. Have a great day. Peace.